To her relief, she found that at least an attempt had been made to make the library livable. The rug was down, the dust covers were gone, some of the photographs and ornaments were in place, and a log fire had been laid ready for lighting. She put a match to it and straightened, feeling somewhat better as the dry logs caught. But the odor, whatever it was, had penetrated even here. She opened the French door onto the terrace and stood there looking out. The air was fresh, and the view had always rested her. The islands were green jewels in the blue water, and a mile or so away she could see the town of Bayside, small and prim among its trees. She drew a long breath and turned to the telephone. It was not there. She gazed in dismay at the desk where it had stood. The silver cigarette box was there as always. The little Battersea patch case was in its place, as was the desk pad and the old Sheffield inkstand with the candles to melt the wax, and the snuffers to extinguish them. But the telephone was gone. Something else was there, however, which made her stop and stare. On the ashtray lay a partially smoked cigarette, and there was lipstick on it. Lucy Norton neither smoked nor used lipstick, and Carol looked down at it incredulously. Then she smiled. Of course someone had dropped in. Marcia Dalton, perhaps, or Louise Stimson. Almost any of the women of the summer colony, climbing the hill and coming in to rest, could have left it. Nevertheless, her feeling of uneasiness returned. She moved swiftly through the adjoining living room and dining room to the pantry and kitchen. Maggie had taken an apron from her suitcase and was tying it around her ample waist. The two girls were standing like a coroner's jury reserving decision. "I'm afraid some of the telephones have been taken out," she said with assumed brightness. "Is the one in the kitchen hall still there, Maggie?" Maggie opened a door and glanced back. "It's gone," she said. "Looks like they've taken them all." "Good heavens," Carol said. "What on earth will we do?" "Folks lived a long time without them," Maggie said philosophically. "I guess we'll manage. What do you think that smell is, Miss Carol? There's nothing being burned here." It was not bad in the kitchen, although it was noticeable. Not unexpectedly, Frida, the youngest of the three, broke first. "I'm not staying," she said hysterically. "I didn't plan to be sent to the end of the world and frozen, too. And that smell makes me sick. I'm giving you notice this minute, Miss Spencer." Carol fought off the nightmare sensation that was beginning to paralyze her. "Now look, Frida," she said reasonably, her face a little set. "You can't leave. Not right away anyhow. I can't call a taxi. The cars in the garage have no gasoline and no batteries. They're jacked up anyhow. There's not even a train until tonight." Maggie took hold then. "Don't be a little fool, Frida," she said. "I expect Mrs. Norton's ordered the groceries. You take off your hat and coat and I'll make hot coffee. We'll all feel better then." A hasty inspection of the supply closet revealed no groceries, however. There was an empty coffee can and the heel of a loaf of bread. In the refrigerator were a couple of eggs, a partly used jar of marmalade, and a few slices of bacon on a plate. Maggie's face was grim. She looked up at the 8-day kitchen clock, which was still going. "If that lazy George Smith's here, we can send him into town," she said. "Go out and see if you can find him, Nora. He's the gardener, or he says he is." She ordered Frida to the cellar for coal, and under protest Frida went. Carol sat down on a kitchen chair while Maggie looked at her with concern. "You're too young to have all this wished on you," she said, with the familiarity of her 20 years of service. "Don't take it too hard. Somebody's sick at Lucy's, most likely. Somebody's sick at Lucy's, most likely. I don't know why your mother got this idea anyhow. Mr. Gregg won't come. He's got only 30 days, and probably he'll want to get married. It's a pity," she added grimly, that you and Mr. Don didn't get married before he left. Because Carol was tired and worried, tears came into her eyes. She brushed them away impatiently. "That's all over, Maggie," she said. "We have to carry on." Then Frida came back, gingerly carrying a pail partly filled with coal, and Maggie started to light a fire. The odor, whatever it was not strong here. But when Maggie poured a little kerosene onto the coals and dropped a match into it, Carol realized the odor was much the same. Perhaps Lucy had started the furnace fire that way. Nora came back, shivering from the grounds. "I don't see anybody," she reported. "The grass has been cut here and there, but there's nobody out there." She huddled by the stove, and Carol got up abruptly. "Something's happened to Lucy," she said. "Take over, Maggie, and get started. I'll go down to the village and find out what's wrong. I'll order some groceries, too. The Miller Market will be open now." "One of the girls can do it," Maggie objected. But Carol refused. She was worried about Lucy. Also, she knew what was needed and how to find it. And although she did not say it, she wanted to get out of the house. Always before, when she came, it had been warm and welcoming. But that day it was different. It felt, she thought shiveringly, like a tomb. That is the end of Chapter 2 of The Yellow Room by Mary Roberts Rinehart.